Hello everybody, my name is Brady and we are back with another React video, and today we're going to be checking out more Hamilton. We have the election of 1800. You may have noticed I skipped It's Quiet Uptown. I have nothing against that song. I tried to make a video for it. I have nothing to add. You might see me cry on camera if I do, but you're not getting that. I refuse to let you have that at this time. So we're going to be skipping to the election of 1800. Maybe one day in the future I'll go back and check out all the little Hamilton stuff that I decided to skip over or decided wasn't worth its own video. Maybe I'll do that at some point down the line. But right now I want to get into like the meaty stuff. And you know what's meaty? The election of 1800. Because it's got 3 individuals in it, which is a lot for a presidential election. We don't really get 3 viable candidates super often. Every once in a while we have some elections there, but mostly it ends up boiling down to a one-on-one thing. Sometimes we'll have like 3 or 4 candidates, but usually 2 serious ones. And I guess in this one there was only 2 serious ones. This might be another one of those examples, because John Adams was not really a huge factor in it, but he was the sitting president, so we kind of have to respect him as a factor, I suppose. And since he was the only representative of the Federalist Party that was even close to viable, he's definitely worth acknowledging. But mostly this is an Aaron Burr, Thomas Jefferson election, and we're going to talk plenty about that. Let's get the song started and take it as we go.
The election of 1800.
Can we get back to politics? Please? Yo, every action has its equal opposite reaction. John Adams shat the bed. I love the guy, but he's in traction.
So how did John Adams done shat the metaphorical bed? So one of the biggest problems with John Adams was the Alien and Sedition Acts. And if you don't know what those are, the Alien Acts were to target immigrants, and it was going to give like very strong deportation power. Which is something that actually never really got used. It was more just the threat of cracking down on immigrants. And a lot of immigrants ended up self-deporting. They're just like, oh, I can sense which way the wind is going. I'm clearly not welcome here. I don't want the political powers that be to crack down on me. I will just leave of my own accord. So we had some cases of that. But yeah, they never actually ended up using the Alien Act. The Sedition Acts were a huge problem because they flew right in the face of the Constitution. It's very obvious that these are unconstitutional. You can't crack down on people's speech just because it offends you. That's kind of one of the big things. Like the government can't crack down on people's speech just because it's offensive or like somebody saying something against the president, but that's what it did. And they got away with it for a while, and it made John Adams particularly unpopular. They cracked down on Democratic Republican press a whole lot. A lot of newspaper writers ended up being imprisoned, and those are people you don't really want to piss off that much because they have incredible influence when it comes to public opinion. So that didn't end up working out very well for John Adams. So at this point, he's a non-factor. Also, Hamilton is having his own internal conflict with John Adams, which we talked about in a previous song. So I'll just leave that there.
Poor Alexander Hamilton, he is missing in action. So now I'm facing Aaron Burr with his own faction.
He's very attractive in the North. New Yorkers like his chances.
He's not very forthcoming on any particular stances.
I think this kind of downplays any sort of political principle that he did have, but yeah, he was a little less clear than Thomas Jefferson. People saw Thomas Jefferson as pretty darn radical. And some people wanted that. Some people really wanted that. Ordinary people really gravitated towards Thomas Jefferson. And it baffles me in a lot of ways how an elitist like Thomas Jefferson could end up being the hero of the people, but he ended up being that. That's what he was. The problem with this election when it comes to Thomas Jefferson and Aaron Burr comes from the way that elections were done at the time. So at this time, we're not living in a very democratic system. Not everybody is able to vote. Not even all white men are able to vote yet. We're still not even there. We're not going to get that for a little bit. When we get around to like Andrew Jackson's time, we're going to start at least having white men, even poor ones, able to vote. But we have property qualifications for voting and stuff like that. So this is an election among the elite. First of all, that's something I have to emphasize. But another problem is that we don't have a system in which we really acknowledge the political parties on paper when it comes to voting. And there's also the issue of not really acknowledging who will be the president and who will be the vice president if this particular party comes in. At this point, the runner-up becomes vice president. That's how we've been doing it, and this is like the election where they realize that's going to be a problem here because we end up having a tie. We'll get to that stuff here. It's stupid, but they ended up fixing it pretty quickly after this because it's a constitutional crisis.
Ask him a question that glances off, he obfuscates, he dances.
And they say I'm a Francophile. At least they know I know where France is.
Thomas, that's the problem. See, they see Burr as a less extreme you. You need to change course. A key endorsement might redeem you.
Who did you have in mind?
Don't laugh.
Who is it?
You used to work on the same staff. It might be nice, it might be nice to get Hamilton on your side.
So this is almost certainly not a thing. Well, let's consider the timeline here. I don't know if this is like some sort of mash of events where everything's kind of all happening at once, because sometimes that's how musicals are, and you can't always take them as like these linear things. So maybe they would have thought like between Burr and Jefferson, maybe we could have Hamilton try to convince people that Jefferson is the lesser of two evils. Maybe they would consider that. But prior to the election, they didn't know this was going to be a problem, that they would need to have these votes switched. They didn't know there was going to be a tie. They didn't know for sure that Burr was not going to step aside and let Jefferson have this. So, this conversation, of course, would not have happened prior to the election.
It might be nice, it might be nice to get Hamilton.
It's good storytelling, though.
Talk less, smile more. Don't let them know what you're against or what you're for. Shake hands with him, charm her. It's 1800, ladies, tell your husbands, vote for Burr.
I've talked about something like this. That's not just a throwaway line. There actually is something there in the fact that he highlights the influence of the wives of important people, because these are not ordinary people's wives that he's charming right now. We still have the elite that are voting here, so he's charming the wives of people who actually have voting power. In this case, I don't know exactly what Burr's real life political candidacy was like on the ground level. I wasn't in the room for that stuff, but this is a really good tactic for the time. I remember reading a whole bunch about James Madison's presidency and how the best way to get to James Madison, the best way to get in his ear was through Dolly Madison, his wife, which, what do you do there? You have your wives get together. You get in your wife's ear have her get in Dolly's ear, who then gets in James Madison's ear. So this is actually really smart here, appealing to the wife of these people who would be casting these votes. There's something there. Not every woman had the same amount of influence. Some men are obviously going to shut down their wives, but those who did have the influence, it was definitely worth trying.
Don't like Adams.
Well, he's gonna lose. That's just defeatist.
And Jefferson?
In love with France.
Yeah, he's so elitist.
I like that Aaron Burr.
I can't believe we're here with him.
He seems approachable. Like you could grab a beer with him.
Dear Mr. Hamilton, your fellow Federalists would like to know how you'll be voting.
It's quiet up.
Dear Mr. Hamilton, John Adams doesn't stand a chance, so who are you promoting?
It's quiet uptown.
So this is like, I'm trying to get out, but they keep pulling me back in. I don't know if I fully buy that. I feel like Hamilton just needed a little time, but he always seems like somebody who's itching to get back into the political conversation. I don't think he needed like a ton of convincing to give his political opinion. So yeah, Hamilton's influence, this isn't really as much a situation where Hamilton is like the tiebreaker vote. He's got to just sway some people who may be a little bit on the fence about who they want to vote for. Because yeah, John Adams, he's not really the factor here. If you were trying to, from a Federalist perspective, just do as little damage as possible, Hamilton has enough sway to move a handful of votes, which could be a game changer in this case. And the Federalists are in talks, it seems, with Thomas Jefferson as well. And he's going to possibly, who knows, room where it happened sort of stuff, possibly work out some sort of deal with the Federalists. This is not absolutely confirmed here, but they tried to influence him to not undo a lot of the work that they've done, undo in a lot of ways Hamilton's economic system, and he's just thinking like, man, I don't want to walk into office with my hands tied, so I can't agree to that. But there's some who do believe that Jefferson did eventually end up giving in on that and deciding, okay, I'll leave it be. It's hard to say exactly why Hamilton's system stayed in place. There's a story about when he got in office, he wanted to change things, and then this guy comes up to him and is like, I can't do anything. It's just such a good system. I can't change it. That's also another story around that, but there's a lot of rumor and speculation about this election. This is just one of the many behind-the-scenes possibilities.
It isn't Aaron Burr, sir.
Alexander.
You've created quite a stir, sir.
I'm going door to door.
You're openly campaigning.
Sure.
That's new.
Honestly, it's kind of draining.
Burr.
Sir.
It was seen as kind of desperate and tacky and just not honorable to go around saying, vote for me. You were supposed to act like, no, I don't want to be president, but like if my country calls me to serve, of course I would accept it. I would be duty bound to do so. The thing is, that doesn't mean they didn't campaign. They just did it quietly. Thomas Jefferson, he's not going around saying, vote for me. No, he has friends doing that for him. He'll have his friends go around and say, vote for Jefferson. He'll have his friends in the press write stuff that's pro-Jefferson. He's not going to say it himself. If anything, Burr is at least being honest about his intentions. Everybody else in politics is surprisingly less honest. Just based around the culture of the time. They just were dishonest about what they really wanted. And what they wanted was to be in that seat, to be in the room where it happened.
Is there anything you wouldn't do?
No, I'm chasing what I want. And you know what?
What?
I learned that from you.
It's pretty intense.
It's a tie.
It's up to the delegates. It's up to Hamilton.
Yeah.
So at this point, they are tied in the Electoral College. So it goes to the House of Representatives in that case. We have a bit of a constitutional crisis if we can't decide who the actual president is going to be. So some votes have to be changed. So Hamilton's obviously going to exercise what influence he still has to get some votes changed, and it's going to end up swaying the election here. The thing is, the fact that we got to this point is what's going to really kill Aaron Burr's political career before the duel with Alexander Hamilton. So it was implied going into the election that if there was a tie, Burr would step down. But then there was a tie, and he didn't step down. He didn't step aside. He didn't concede the election. No, he decides, okay, I'm going to wait and see what this is. And this is actually very much in line with his character in the musical. This is one of those moments that's like, okay, yeah, I'm going to wait and see which way the wind's blowing. This is one of the cases where that's totally spot on. And Jefferson's never going to forgive him for this. Jefferson is going to pretty much sandbag his political career. He's not going to have him be involved in the Jefferson administration going forward. There's no future for Burr because he decided he wanted to go all in. He wanted everything, and he ended up with nothing.
Now, the people are asking to hear my voice. The country is facing a difficult choice. And if you were to ask me who I'd promote, Jefferson has my vote.
T-Jeffs is cool.
I had never agreed with Jefferson.
No, this is reluctant.
We have fought on like 75 different fronts. But when all is said and all is done, Jefferson has beliefs. Burr has none.
Well, I'll be damned. Well, I'll be damned.
Hamilton's on your side.
So why would he make this decision? There's some personal conflict between the two during this time. There's plenty that we can go into, but the thing that is commonly referenced going into their duel is Burr's water company. So Burr starts a water company. This is a stupid story that feels like it's not related, but it is. He starts a water company, and he gets Hamilton to support the project because they need clean water. There's all sorts of disease. It's generally not good in New York during this time, so the water company is the attempt to correct that problem. So Hamilton's just like, yeah, that seems like a great idea. I'll sign on to that idea, Burr. So there was some sort of complex loophole thing, I don't know. So it was that like the extra money could be invested into whatever Burr really saw fit. So he decided, okay, I got my water company started. I'm going to start funneling that money into creating a bank. Burr has a bank now. Hamilton has a bank. They both have banks. And now these banks are going to be in direct competition with one another. So what Burr does, he totally plays Hamilton into supporting an idea that ends up generating competition for his vision. So now Hamilton's vision for the for his national bank is going to be challenged by this thing that he helped create. That's pretty deceptive right there. I would say that that is in Hamilton's mind when he is making this decision, and that's probably driving Hamilton's opinion of Burr towards a place where it really can't come back from. I don't think this is actually a situation where he thinks Jefferson is just like generally a principled person or whatever. I think he still really doesn't like Jefferson, but right now he really doesn't like Burr to a greater extent, because Burr very personally, very recently betrayed his trust. So there we go.
I'll be damned. Well, I'll be damned.
And
You won on a landslide.
congrats on a race well run. I did give you a fight. I look forward to
You don't want that.
our partnership as your vice president.
Yeah, right. You hear this guy? Man openly campaigns against me, talking about I look forward to our partnership.
It is crazy that the guy who comes in second gets to be vice president.
Ooh, you know what? We can change that. You know why?
Why?
Because I am the president.
And they do. And next time around, you have to declare your party ticket. So we are running for the Democratic Republican Party. If you elect this ticket, you get Thomas Jefferson as the president, and you get Aaron Burr as the vice president. That's what it would be if he kept Burr. But he's not going to keep Burr. No, he doesn't want anything to do with Burr. He doesn't trust him at this point. He keeps him away from everything. Burr's career is dead.
Burr, when you see Hamilton, thank him for the endorsement.
Yeah, like, sorry, not exactly an endorsement, kind of a negative endorsement against Burr, more than a positive. And wait, what's a negative endorsement? I can't think of the word. A condemnation of Burr rather than an endorsement of Jefferson, but you know, whatever it is, that's a very good line. It's a good piece of writing right there. What a wonderful election. It's terrible. It's got all the drama though. It's got the personal stuff. It's got the strained friendship between John Adams and Thomas Jefferson. It's got Aaron Burr, the opportunist, kind of the dark horse who doesn't really seem to really be in line with the image that Jefferson has for the party. And then we have Jefferson, who's like the obvious guy. He has been the guy pulling the strings in the Democratic Republican Party this whole time. And then we got like figures like Hamilton, who get to act as a bit of a spoiler, which I think it's one of the most interesting elections going into one of the most interesting eras in American history. The Federalists are never going to come back from this. I always think about this as the killing blow for the Federalist Party, but it's a slow death. They will never have a president again, but they will linger on for a little while. But after this, we have Thomas Jefferson, 2 terms. We've got, sorry, that was very unprofessional of me. I'm sorry. Hey, there we go. What was I saying? We've got Jefferson for 2 terms, Madison for 2 terms, James Monroe for 2 terms, all Democratic Republicans, and then we have John Quincy Adams, who's a little bit different, but yeah, he's there. So yeah, we've got just Democratic Republican city going forward. I'm excited because we're going to be able to get into the duel very soon, and I'm very excited. I might do a couple songs in the next part. I think we have Your Obedient Servant, and then we have like Best of Wives, I think, and then we have the duel. So that all fits in, like, that all might be able to be put into one video. We'll see. I don't know. It might be kind of long if I do it that way, but who knows. All right. So thank you guys for watching. I will be back in the very near future. I'm sorry I haven't been uploading as much. I've been lazy. All right. There's my excuse. All right. I will see you when I do. All right. Later.